Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here of the Raptors Digest reacting to the Toronto Raptors 112-109 win against the Charlotte Hornets. Ryker, the Torontos have won now their first two preseason games. This will sort of be a reaction to both of those, but it's really nice to just see the Toronto Raptors back in action.
We're knocking on the door of the regular season starting, and already we've picked up a gem, Ben. And I just want to jump straight into talking about how Malachi Flynn looks like you could pick him up, put him on any legitimate contending team in the NBA, and put him in a playoff series. He could be the starter, he could be a backup. How do the Raptors continue to do this, Ben?
Yeah, Malachi Flynn, obviously we saw the draft pick, and we were pretty excited because we saw his highlights, we saw his three-point shooting, we saw the defense, we saw all those sorts of things. But there was some reservations as you see guys like Fred, Lowry, Norm, those types of players at the guard thinking, will Malachi be able to sort of get an opportunity this season, or will he be a player 1 to 2 years down the line? But the way he showed up in these first couple games, obviously tonight, came off the bench and scored 17 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was just an absolute force out there on defense and offensive end. Hit some really contested shots, really showed out. I think I agree with you. Obviously, it's a small sample size. In the same vein, we saw Terence Davis last year. Maybe they hit a rookie wall at some point, but Malachi Flynn looks really nice, Ryker.
Yeah, there's a difference between having a stretch of games where you're hitting shots and creating shots where, regardless if you make them or miss them, you're putting yourself in a position where the team is going to benefit from those shots. And I think what we're seeing is that this guy just has a poise that's uncanny from any rookie that we've maybe ever seen, especially at such a deep draft pick. And I know he was still in first. He was projected to be higher. And what a blessing that he slipped low for whatever reason. I mean, and this guy was also Defensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West Division. So I mean, again, you're right. It could be a little bit overinflated. Plus, he's playing against Charlotte Hornets' second unit. And I read through the box score. Do you even know who any of these guys are? Cody Martin, Jalen McDaniels, Malik Monk, who obviously has really struggled to find his footing in the NBA, Caleb Martin. We can kind of go down the list. So when you stack him against a better defensive unit, then maybe we'll get a better indication of what he could be in the NBA. But Ben, I really like what I see from this guy. Come out with such confidence, stroke threes, lead the offense, make good passes. We knew this guy was going to be a great pick and roll sort of point guard and have true point guard in all sense of the terms, but he's come out and dazzled.
Yeah, no, 1,000%, Ryker. And honestly, our backcourt looked really strong tonight. On top of Malachi Flynn, Fred VanVleet came out, and he looks like he added some stuff to his bag over the break. Just his ability seems a little bit more under control. He's driving to the rim. He made a lot of nice finishes inside the lane, and that's a big criticism I know you had of Fred VanVleet's game, particularly in the bubble. So I think Fred VanVleet, if he's coming in sort of learning how to finish like Kyle Lowry does, getting in the paint there, Fred had just a remarkable night, super efficient in limited minutes, 23 points, 4 assists, 3 steals on 9 of 12 shooting. So did you see anything different from Fred's game tonight that really just sort of caught your eye?
Yeah, Ben, do you know what it is? It's very obvious. Do you know what it is?
What?
He was the point guard. He was the point guard. And we get a flash of what will happen when Kyle Lowry naturally shifts into maybe that bench point guard, backup point guard position, or when his time sort of expires with the Raptors. But we've been building up to this for so long, really grooming Fred VanVleet to become that next starting point guard for the Raptors. And Ben, this is what it would look like. A supreme amount of confidence, him at the helm, taking threes, setting up shots. He looks good out there. He looks really good. And finally, that backcourt has a bit more size when we see Norman Powell out there with him. And to me, that is the lineup that makes sense. And I'm not knocking playing Fred VanVleet and Lowry. Of course, you're going to have to do that, and we're going to see it throughout the whole regular season. But VanVleet, as the starting point guard, getting paid $20+ million a year, it makes sense. This is what it looks like, and we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I really like the point you brought up of Fred playing his natural position, because that's a big thing. When you're running two smaller guards or whatever, you're playing that off guard position. you're going to have to sort of make those drives, make those cuts, play a bit off. He's out of position, especially for his height. So I really like that point of him manning the point guard role, handling his stuff, and tonight showed a lot of it. Obviously had a strong start to last season. He's had ups and downs, but there's just something different about his game tonight. I think you hit on a lot of those points. And another guy in the backcourt that we're sort of hoping, we're looking to see what's going to happen with him going forward. He has a court case coming up, Riker, in the next few days, next couple weeks. Terence Davis, obviously, we're hoping that those allegations and stuff aren't true. That'll get proven in a court of law and all that sort of stuff. So we don't want to dive too deep into that, but he definitely looks much improved from last season.
Well, you can see, you can hear, and you can see how awkward it is for everyone announcing these games. They don't really know what to say about this guy because obviously nobody condones the allegations and especially domestic violence. And in sport, it's a really big thing. So I think, and we broke it down, the video of the Toronto Raptors, that as a franchise, as a culture, as a city, it really doesn't mesh well with what the Raptors have built up as a platform, what they expect from their athletes. So it's weird that in the midst of all this, they're still giving him, Nick Nurse is still giving him so much run. And it makes it especially awkward that he's been playing darn well, Ben. He's been playing a really solid brand of basketball. You want to support him because last year he played really well and then he hit that wall, like you said. But also we do kind of want to hold our sort of true thoughts until we know what happens, because obviously if it doesn't, if things end up being proven through this court case, then I think he should probably part ways with the Raptors. That's just my opinion, not from a talent perspective, but just from a you can't condone those types of antics, Ben. But you can see how awkward it is for everybody that's kind of trying to call these games.
Yeah, and there's a process that the NBA has to go through when this stuff happens for these players. So hopefully it all sort of worked out, and hopefully the allegations aren't true regarding Terence Davis, because I think that's as much as we'll dive into him. But certainly look good on the basketball court. All things aside, look solid.
Can we stop? Can we stop for a sec though? Can I ask you, because I know we're gonna keep going with Raptors players. What is it like listening to Matty Devlin's sweet voice again on television? How are you feeling about that?
Bruh, I'm liking it. The first game, I sort of had a stream on in the background with the American reporters, the Charlotte Hornets. So I ended up catching this one on proper cable tonight. So it was nice seeing the squad, hearing those voices again. It just feels right, Riker.
It feels right. And you know what? We're not bought up by a big network. We're a community podcast still. So I can say this. It's dumb that there's TSN and Sportsnet. It's dumb that they split the Raptors games. And I want to hear Jack's voice. And this isn't a knock against Leo, because Twine and Dine, that's hilarious. Matt and Leo's rapport, it's fantastic. They were hilarious tonight as well. Just some weird banter back and forth. But I want Jack's voice, maybe all three of them together night in, night out. That's the one thing that I'd like. I don't like going Sportsnet, TSN. It's strange, but that's it. It's great to have those boys back in our lives, Ben.
Yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, that would be cool if they had all three of the broadcasters going. Obviously, it's different contracts and different sort of stuff with all that. But, yeah, no, I'm excited to be able to hear Jack and stuff on the go. But one player I want to sort of bring up to you, Riker, before we sort of get into the segments and get to some of the other stuff with the jerseys, because I want to get your opinion on those. But we were pretty... We made a whole video about it, but Rondae Hollis-Jefferson we felt was a big loss for this Toronto Raptors team because of his energy he brought, and especially in a season where players are going to be out with illness, with injuries, all that sort of stuff. You want to have that depth. You want to have those energy guys. And we lost Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, but we replaced him with a guy in DeAndre Bembry who seems to be bringing that same defensive effort, that same rebounding hustle. And, we were a little bit skeptical on the jumper when we looked at his stats in prior seasons, but he hit this step back contested three today. He seemed pretty confident taking them. What are your thoughts on DeAndre Bembry tonight? Because he looked really good when he played with the starters.
He looked like you cloned Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, put him out there, but it's less unnatural. It's more natural because this guy's actually a forward, so he should have better guard skills. He should have a better shot mechanic. It's obviously not perfect, and that's the reason we had some criticisms or some question marks. I mean, we're obviously rooting for every Raptors player to end up being good, but his hustle, I don't think that he's missed a step from what Rondae Hollis-Jefferson was able to provide. And of course, there are so many question marks about that 4 and that 5 slot. And so if the Raptors are going to play small for long stretches this season, which they probably will, it looks like that from what we've seen now in these two opening games, then DeAndre Bembry will be able to come in, play that 4 role, and be that energy guy that brings spirit to the game. And I think he's going to fit in pretty well.
Yeah, and the big thing I really like about sort of his play style on that energy is he is that threat from the three-point line. Even as you mentioned, his jumper is a little bit, it's not exactly where you want it to be, but he's not someone you can just camp out in the paint and not guard. And that was the biggest issue. That's why Rondé was unplayable in the playoffs. That's why he couldn't do those sorts of things. But the skill I was most impressed with, on top of obviously the necessity of having a three-point shot, is his cutting. He was just, his feel for the game, Riker, he was coming in there, attacking. Whenever a defender turned his back, he was running straight to the rim. Guys like Fred, guys like Flynn were able to throw those passes to him. We know Kyle Lowry loves to hit those cutters. So I'm excited to really, I don't know if he's a perfect fit off the bench, running with a bench. But I guess if Malachi is sort of, if we have those sort of guards coming off the bench, which are good passers, they'll be fine. But I think him as a role player in the mix of a lot of scores, and with Siakam, Lowry, Fred, he could be a perfect fit, Riker.
Are you writing him into the lineup already, Ben? We know how much competition there is. Paul Watson, O'Shea Brissett, Patrick McCaw, Stanley Johnson. Are you saying that he's already done enough in 2 games to sort of be ahead of all those other guys that are competing for the same minutes?
Well, so I wouldn't put him in the competition of the guards, the Matt Thomases, the Norman Powells and stuff. Even the McCaws are sort of in that area, because I think he can play a little bit bigger than those guys, a really small ball 4 or at the 3 position. And I definitely put him over Stanley Johnson. Obviously, he's not touching OG, but I could see him being that sort of backup 3, especially an energy guy for long stretches of the season. Now, he'll probably have to earn those opportunities, earn those minutes, right? Obviously, Nick Nurse doesn't like just giving those opportunities away, and we haven't seen McCaw yet. I'm assuming he's injured or just getting back into the flow of things. Obviously, he came to training camp late, so McCaw was our 8th man for most of the season last year when he was healthy, so he'll probably have to overtake McCaw, but I could really see him cracking this rotation, Riker. If I had to make a prediction, I think by the end of the season, we'll see a lot of DeAndre Bembry, especially if that three-point shot holds up in some important moments.
Yep. And I could see myself being completely wrong in saying this, but I could see Alex Len getting played out of the rotation, and we almost play small off the bench and have DeAndre Bembry be the guy at the 4 and maybe Boucher at the 5. But having them in tandem is a pretty weak front court, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. But anyways, Ben, you got all of the segments downloaded. I know we're trying to figure out the tech before the regular season starts. Are we ready to hit the ground running?
You know what they say, we just gotta go for it. And tonight, the spicy pea lay of the day, Riker. It looks like it's loading. It's not too loud, but tonight, for the spicy pea lay of the day, I think it's going to go to, for me, Riker, Fred VanVleet, sort of coming into this game and just setting his tone, hitting a bunch of threes right in a row. And I think the shot that really set it off and earns him this play was he came down the lane, or he came down on a fast break. He got a steal. It was a 3-on-1 fast break, and he decided to pull up from about 2 feet beyond the three-point line and just splash it down, really put the Raptors on a momentum boost. But Fred, just his all-around game gets almost a bunch of spicy P-lays tonight.
Yeah, 5 for 7 from 3. But Ben, that wasn't the shot. The shot was the half-court, or not the half-court, the halftime buzzer beater. And he had to double clutch and still got the shot off. It was a surprise to him even. But when you're that hot, you're going to make whatever you toss up there is going to go in. The basket is looking as big as the ocean. And Ben, I hope there's a ton more games like that this season from Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And similar to the intro, it likes the segment clips like to pop back up when we keep going. So we're getting used to the production, but hopefully that all worked out well. But definitely Fred VanVleet, massive performance. I want to give a shout out to Game 1 as well of this sort of preseason. OG Anunoby came down on LaMelo Ball. LaMelo was trying to go for those reach-in steals like he liked at Chino Hills, and OG said nope, put it behind his back, came down and yammed it. I know he kind of struggled in the second game, but I really liked what I saw from OG in the first game, Riker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think consistency is going to be key for this guy. He can't shy away. We need OG to take the next step. And I joke that I don't want him to step too high up because then it's going to be hard and with his contract coming up for extension. But that's just in jest. We need this guy to take as much of an elevator role with the Raptors as possible. And if he can become a guy who's looking to create his own shot, that'll be the most valuable, most important thing for the Raptors. So he can't shy away. He needs to follow up good games with better games. And that, that's what I think. But well, he'll get there, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. And now, speaking of OG, not all plays can be the spicy Pele of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez, Riker. And tonight, the OG's play of the day, I don't necessarily know if... there's a lot of turnovers in this game, which could have made the OGs happen, but I think there was a moment in the first game which really set it off, and it was Alex Len. You sort of brought him up a little bit, but he went to the free throw line. I think it might have been his first shot as a Raptor, and just completely airballed that first shot. And I don't know, we weren't super high on him on the original video. Then I sort of talked about how I was pretty excited for Len coming in after seeing some workout videos of him splashing down threes, and my excitement fell right back to where it was after seeing him shoot those free throws in these first couple games. Right?
Yep, back down to earth. Ben, I think it's too early, and I know it's too early to start player bashing, to be player hating, and I know it's going to be a long, arduous season in the comment section with people's thoughts on Pascal Siakam. I know it's coming. I can feel it in my bones, so I want to caution you. Give it a little while. Let's save the criticisms until we're at least a bit farther into the season, because Nick Nurse said it himself. He's not going to look to play 8 men, 10 men. It's going to be very robust, his lineup changes and the guys that he's playing on a given night. So players like Len, maybe he'll get the benefit of being in a lineup that brings out his best attributes. I'm tending to side with you that he probably doesn't have good attributes to begin with. But Ben, there's a hope. There's hope out there. And I think it's too early to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, and the one thing about Len is he's big. He seems like he has defensive potential. He's not the most mobile of guys out there, but I'm still there's a thread of hope from me watching those 3-point shooting videos of Len knocking down a bunch of threes in a row. So maybe one day he'll sort of turn it all around, and he'll definitely get an opportunity with injuries happening. And you brought up only having really Baines as our true big man in front of him. Boucher, most people would consider him more of a power forward, even though he can play center and played it very well in the G League and stuff. But I think there'll be spaces and time for Len to shine, maybe against different teams and stuff. So we'll see how all that happens. And you said we're not player bashing, and that's definitely fair. 2 games into preseason, but there's one player that earned an award, and we've kept it off. We've been debating changing the name of it for a while, but you guys just love the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. And Riker, do you have a DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award so far from the start of preseason?
I'm going to let you take it away here, Ben. I think you have somebody in your mind.
I don't really have anyone too crazily in mind. Was there someone that we talked about, or?
No. I thought we were by default giving it to Stanley Johnson, but I'm okay to just say we're going to reserve. We're going to hold off.
It was in the back of my
head.
But we reserved the Stanley Johnson roast from last season because we saw what happened, Riker. This man looked trash in all those last 2-minute, 3-minute stretches that he was given tonight. The same thing was given the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game and just came out and was not looking good. Not looking good by any means, but when he was given some minutes in the bubble, he didn't look that bad. So maybe it's just a thing he needs to get in a little flow. He needs to know he's getting a few minutes, but the same Stanley Johnson, the same last 5 minutes of the game Stanley Johnson we saw again tonight at least in this start of preseason.
Listen, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't think expectations are ever too high on this fella. What we can give a legitimate DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award for worst performances. Matt 99% Thomas shot 20% from the field today. He was 1 for 5. He was 0 for 2 from 3. Take a snapshot of this, Ben. You're not going to see it very often. He's going to finish with at least above 50% of his shots in any given game. So that, it's an abnormality that he was not on his game tonight.
Yeah, and I guess before we sign off, are you happy with Nick Nurse sort of coming out and saying he expects Matt Thomas to have a legitimate, solidified rotation spot this season? He expects him to play a
Yeah.
primary role for long stretches of this one. We've seen in the preseason, and it seems like he has a little leg up on guys like Terence and Malachi coming off the bench. Him and Malachi had really good chemistry at the start of in the first game of the preseason, especially when Matt Thomas was knocking down shots. Are you sort of happy with this? Because I know I'm pretty solid to see, because even though his jump shot was pretty poor tonight, he missed a couple of his bankers, which I don't know if I've ever seen him miss, but his defense looks a lot better than it was last season.
Ben, okay, yes, I'm happy that Matt Thomas is confirmed going to get run. I think it's very important. I don't agree with you that he has a leg up on Malachi. I think from what we've started the podcast with such
Like
raving,
minutes wise, because it seems like he's coming into the game before Malachi. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, but Malachi had 20 minutes versus 15. And we don't need to break down
yeah.
who's going to get more minutes between the two. But Ben, this is the thing: if you couldn't play a guy that is limited on defense, then JJ Redick, Kyle Korver, all of those notorious three-point shooters, they would have never carved out those long, extremely long careers that they had. There's a place for guys if you can hide them with a good defensive unit. If they're out there stroking threes and putting that much pressure on the defense, like off of off-ball screens, as soon as they catch it's released, he has to be part of the rotation. He has to be. And last year, when there was a lot of depth and our core unit was really strong and Serge Ibaka was really strong, and there wasn't as much of a role for him. But now with the roster being a little more wide open, it's Matt Thomas time to shine.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And honestly, we could probably go on for days about these first two games, but there's no need to sort of overanalyze the first couple games of preseason. But you guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Check out the website. And we mentioned on the last podcast, we give a shout out to the comments we saw on the articles over at raptorsdigest.ca. I saw one from Ryan31. That's one I saw over there. And I think, I'm forgetting the second name. Did you spot any, Riker?
No, I didn't know that we were doing that, so I'm gonna.
It's been a few days, but we'll re-look at all the comments and stuff. So you'll definitely get your shout outs if you're commenting over there. Really appreciate everyone checking out that website, checking out all our stuff. But Riker, you have any last words?
Ben, I'm gonna find a catch. I'm gonna trademark a catchphrase here to sign off. I got a couple days until the regular season starts. When it does, get ready. Cheers.
Be ready, folks.